Good day, race fans, and welcome to the Intentional Wreck Podcast, the podcast made by race fans for race fans, from the casuals to the lifelong gearheads. My name is Jeff, and it's just me and Finn tonight. Welcome in. Sorry we're starting to stream just a little bit late. Had a few things going on tonight, so we were kicking off a little later than usual, but we are here and we are rolling, and we've got plenty that we wanted to talk about tonight. Beforehand, let me get rid of just a little bit of notification and housekeeping, that kind of stuff. Please make sure you check us out on YouTube under the channel Intentional Wreck. You can find us on Twitter and TikTok under the handle at IntWreckPod. That's at IntWreckPod. We are on YouTube. We are on Spotify. We are on Twitch. We are all over the place. So please make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that kind of good stuff. Now we can get on with some racing talk. What did you think of our trip to Vegas this past week, Finn?
Well, I think we got to start with Victory Lane, won by yours truly.
All right. Yeah, I guess I did forget something.
It was me, right? So I had Larson, who didn't have the greatest finish, and of course
I
we'll
had
talk about.
Blaney.
You had Blaney,
Did
who
not
got
have a great finish, but he had a good day.
great car,
Yeah.
and then I think what was it, Logano for Corey?
Yeah, Corey had Logano.
So of course he didn't have the best day. So me and you've been having a lot of talks about the various racing. I remember waking up to you talking about the F1 race, which was fantastic kickoff to the season. A lot of great storylines, but you are also a very passionate Indy fan.
Yes.
And I wanted to give you my time this week because I didn't have anything prepared. And Corey's not here to roll his eyes at a Penske rant, so we're gonna
You can save it for next week. Get the win next week, and then that way you can carry a Penske.
I will try my best. So tell us a bit about what has got you hyped. Obviously Homestead this weekend, but Indy's this weekend, right? And they got a good race.
So I've got a few different things for Indy that I think are interesting to talk about. I mean, for one, if nobody caught the St. Pete race to start the season 2 weeks ago, fantastic. The transition to Fox has also done a lot. Viewership was up as one of the highest. It was the highest viewed non-Indy 500 race that IndyCar has done in, I don't think it's ever, but it is definitely up there as in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
The Fox broadcast was decent. Like, I think they did a pretty good job. I have some gripes about the fact that this coming Sunday they start at 3 and NASCAR starts at 3:30, so both races are going to be running concurrently, which I think goes kind of against the whole like let's bring things together and run stuff, one after the other kind of thing. And then we've got some exciting stuff coming up next weekend. We're running Thermal Club. So for anybody that's not familiar, last year there was sort of a exhibition isn't necessarily the point. It was kind of a money race. They ran at Thermal last year, and it was an interesting race.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have an actual points championship race happening at Thermal Club. And what I wanted to bring to your attention is, have you ever seen the layout for Thermal Club?
I have not.
Have you ever seen that weird painting of Squidward that went like viral like a long time ago?
This one right here. I know you probably don't see it on the screen, but you told me before. You said bring up the Squidward picture. Okay, so we're about to
you take that picture and turn it on its side, right, and look at it sideways, and then put it right up next to the layout of Thermal Club. Tell me there's not a distinct similarity.
I got him on. Oh my Lord, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
It's the Squidward track. Is there not a reason to go watch this? I mean, first of all, the amount of long straights on this track combined with like how fast these IndyCar can go is like, I mean, as soon as I see this, all I could think of was like, what would it be like with NASCAR? The ability to go from high speed to braking to all of those areas all around the track on the right hand side, all the long curving turns, and of course the S's. So there's technical portions of this, but also it looks like there's so many passing zones. Where is this race located? Like where is Thermal Club actually located?
Thermal Club is, let me get 100% on that because I knew it earlier. And then I totally
Oh,
forgot. It's in California. That's right. Yeah.
okay, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
why? I mean, put it on the, say put it on the. I mean, I just want to see good. I mean, we had a fantastic road course race with
Yeah.
Coda, and obviously, like we got Mexico City. So it's obvious that NASCAR cares to try different venues out. So that would be a good one.
There's
That looks very
there.
interesting.
Did you hear the news that we may be going to Canada?
Oh, to the Montreal.
So
I'm good
in
with it.
2026, there's a good chance that NASCAR will go to Montreal, try it out in 2026 with the trucks and Xfinity, and we'll likely get a cup race in 2027. That's if everything gets
Oh, that's so
ironed
long,
out.
dude.
So
SVG's gonna
I
be
love it.
retired by then, dude. He's sold. Gotta get to the road courses so that Trackhouse can get a championship.
Yeah.
So,
But to the other point though is like I was watching some in-car runs on thermal, and you're right. The amount of passing zones are fantastic. The straights are going to be great. The amount of times that guys are going to be able to use push to pass and like really find their way around other cars. We're going to see some really good like three wide in the straights, especially in the beginning.
right,
And the cornering is insane. Like this is definitely going to be a wheelman's track. I mean, you
right.
are the ability to like hit your shifts properly, to brake properly, and to hit your corners properly, and like really
Mm-hmm.
maneuver the car. This is going to be a very much like a good driver's track, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Sick.
So
Yeah.
I would implore folks to definitely check out that race this weekend. It's going to be good.
Right. And Fox is giving you enough NASCAR commercials that you have plenty of time to
Right.
swing up on have the Indy race side by side and keep that. That
Yeah.
has been abysmal. Not to
Yeah.
become another like Fox sucks, but for what it's worth, they I think they're changing some like folks in charge of the broadcast up. I don't know if that's directly in response to this or if it's just like a natural promotion that's just getting a little bit more hype than it should. But like, man, I tell you what, I mean, there's still the only thing I will give NASCAR credit, not Fox, NASCAR credit, is the Max stuff. We talk about this every week. This was probably like my favorite week of having those separate car cams up. Vegas was a top tier race. That's going to go down in my mind as one of the more memorable mile and a halves. Not only because of who won it, and we'll get to Josh Berry here in a sec, dude. But like I watched this is who I had Blaney to start the race, Blaney and Bowman, and I watched Blaney go from dead last in a with no practice in a backup car. Well, he wasn't in a backup car; he was in the start car. But he basically got in a couple
Right.
laps of practice, spun it, missed qualifying. They fixed it up in the shop, and a complete question mark on how fast they were going to be. And I watched him storm through the field. I'm watching you pass high, I'm watching low, late in the run, right? So out the gate, Byron comes flying, and he's like running down Cindric and Logano, right? Like, I mean, the 24 is absolutely flying, and Bowman kind of settles in fourth out the start. And then I see Bowman move up high in 3 and 4. So he's going high 3 and 4, low 1 and 2, high 3 and 4. And I'm just watching him just run down the 24 and then run down the 24 and pass the 24. And that's why I was starting to think, I was like, yo, the 48's got something special, but also like, yes, finally, multiple grooves, multiple lanes. And
Yes.
I was so terrified that at this many years into mile and a half, it's just one of those things like eventually everybody's going to kind of figure out the setups. And then we kind of hit that wall where everybody's good. And now the passing is minimal. But no, like people were flying. Blaney had a really, really slow pit stop. They got held up on the left front. And then he got sent to the back again. Well, because of that, not sent to the back, but there. And he was passing people again, flying. Then I watched Larson, who was way in the back, and I watched him go from 22nd to like fourth on a run. It was the halfway
Mm-hmm.
through stage one, which was the first caution. Halfway, and then he went from 22nd to fourth. Like, dude, 22nd to fourth is absurd on a run.
Yeah.
Not because of a
it's not even the
wreck.
first time Larson
You're right.
does that too.
And it was not because of a wreck, or it wasn't because he jumped the high line and a bunch of people got slow. This dude passed damn near 20 cars on a run and was still running people. Like, you know how fast you have to be to run it all the way down and then not be like 10 seconds behind the leaders? Like, he was absurdly fast.
And not to mention, to that same point, it's also like adding to that is also something to say about having multiple grooves and the ability to like find different space and more unconventional lines on the track.
Right.
In the past, Vegas has been guilty, and Phoenix was at one time as well, of being the type of track where you had one line, everybody had to rush to try and get to that one line,
Right.
stay in that one groove, and just hope you didn't get wrecked, and then wait for your opportunity and go.
Right.
And we didn't see that this weekend. It
Or
was pretty
like,
cool.
well, the thing is, I mean, obviously the 550 package like damn near killed NASCAR mile and a halfs. But yeah, it
Mhm.
was like it got to the point where it's like you had to catch somebody, and then to pass them, you had to like throw it in low and hope it stuck. And if you didn't, you were just going to use up your tires and you would be done. And it would take 10 laps to pass somebody. Whereas
Mhm.
here, it takes about 3 to 4 corners if you're faster.
Yes.
Catch them, go. Now, there wasn't as much passing for the lead. There was a time at the end of stage 1 where Bowman was running down Cindric, and Cindric would just move up. So we still have this little bit of an aero blocking problem from the leaders' perspectives. But I also watched Larson run down Wallace and pass him
Yeah.
consistently. So I think it was a little bit more, and I had typed this up in another race, my frustrations with the 48. Actually, I put it in our text chat, but it's just like,
Yeah.
I love Alex. I want him to succeed. But there are some defining things that stop him from being another tier up of driver. And those things are like, he just cannot make the right decision on restarts. Like, every time he's like, I need to duck low here and go open, or I need to do this, he just ends up lifting, having to get out
Yeah.
of the gas. He is not a like. I remember listening on the radio. They were like, "All right, Alex, be a bully here. No friends here." And he was like outside P4, and they're like, "No friends here. There's no friends here." And just
Right.
still, he goes high and he goes to swing low and he catches Keselowski. And instead of like going up and just pushing Keselowski into the corner, going, "Quit being slow," he just lifts, and then everybody steamrolls past him. And it's just like, thank God Blake Harris pulled out a fucking long run car, because we're just going to lose 7 spots in every restart and then spend the next 30 laps getting those 7 spots back. Like, you have a rocket ship. Fucking drive it, And it was,
Yeah.
but, and of course, they were very fast, and they on that restart. That was the restart where he kind of got bullied a little bit, and then he said he had the really, really bad vibration. I don't know if you heard that, but when he pit out of nowhere, it was because he said he had a vibration so bad, the car was shaking so much he couldn't see out of the windshield.
That's crazy. So I didn't know it was that
Yeah.
bad. I remember when they specifically highlighted the radio on the broadcast
Right.
and said that he had the vibration. That was one of the things that made him go in
Yeah.
to where he just had to drop out for a while.
Mhm.
And yeah, I didn't realize it was so bad he couldn't see.
Yeah, it was so awful. So he, obviously went a lap down, came out, had, they were running on he had, I don't know if he got newer tires on that scenario or whatever, but, everybody knew tires. So he came out and he just kind of was running around, driving through people real hard. I can't remember if there was a caution or something, but he was just driving through the field, and he was trying to catch Blaney to be the first car lap down. And a caution came out. And it was like, oh shit, well, Blaney gets the wave around. We're going to be the first car lap down. Do we pit here? Everybody was pitting for tires. Do we pit here? And I remember sitting there and I was like, man, they're going to make the wrong call here. They decided to stay out, take the wave around, and just kind of roll around on old tires a bit. And then there was a caution immediately after that, like within 5 laps. So they got back on the lead lap. Alex was able to kind of battle his way up. He did finish in the top 10. We'll talk a little bit about him later because of the strategies that were really good. The penalties, I mean, the vibrating penalties. So the 19, right, immediately out the gate, they lose their tire on the first pit stop, right? So they're down, they were down 4 laps at one point. The 8 car lost a tire as well.
The tire changes, and to that same point, did you see what happened with Chris Bell?
Yes, yep, Chris
The
Bell.
double pit, the teamwork that came with that made me that was amazing. Like, to watch him go have his crew find out that his tire was going to loose, and then he drops into the 19 pit box where the confused guys on that box had to hop over and tighten his tire before he got out. Brilliant.
I distinctly remember a time where either Jeff or Jimmy were out of a race and the other team was faster on pit road, and obviously this was back in the 5 lug nut days, right? That they swapped. I'm gonna go find that. But for the rest of the race, I think either the 24 pit crew was the one who pit the 48 or inverse. But that's the only other time I've ever seen something like that where we're like, true teamwork that wasn't as a
Yeah.
result of an injury. Like mid race, it was like, and he didn't pit in his box. The whole like whether it was a 24 pit crew or the 48, they straight up just went down there. They were like, "Hey, he's out. We're gonna
Yeah.
like we are trying to win a championship here or whatever it is, and our teammates out, so we're gonna give you the best chance we can to win it." I wonder if I have to find it, but I very distinctly remember that
I'd like to
occurring.
see that
Yeah,
because I'm not familiar with that story. That
I'm gonna
sounds
go
awesome.
find that because I remember, and it's somewhere buried in the back of my brain. That and the cable breaking at Charlotte when I was there, that was wild. Um, but yeah, the 20 thing. Do you think it gets banned?
I hope not.
I think I think if because it's not. It's up to the team to pit. Like the 19 team could have been like, no, go. You know what
Right.
I mean?
And
Like,
and and you're not swapping parts. Like he
right,
tightened the tire. It wasn't a situation like their teammates, nobody swapped parts. You weren't taking the risk of like having
right.
something that was in somebody else's box getting thrown onto another car and there having
Yeah.
some kind of interference. Like I could
It
see where somebody might have a gripe on that.
Well, you're taking the penalty. So first of all, it's already penalized, right? The 20 went to the rear of
Yeah.
the field. Second, the reason, and this is why I think it should just say how it was,
Yeah.
is the reason why the ruling, the suspensions are so egregious. I mean, you're losing your crew or
Yeah.
something for like multiple
The
races,
19's going to lose some over 3 races.
right? Is because it's a safety concern. The tire coming off and bouncing around
Sure.
on the track is dangerous for the cars. If it hits off a car and goes to the crowd, it could kill somebody, right? So I think the idea of safety here is because, that's what they're doing. Obviously, they're doing it to save their ass, but like it's a safety thing. So if you're saying, hey, if you don't think you got it, stopped in the crew's box. And here's the thing, since it's a penalty and you're going to go to the rear of the field and it's a safety concern, I don't even think he needs to stop in a teammate's box.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I don't think
I
you're going
have
to get
half of
any
mine.
love, but yeah.
Well, I have half of mine that any team, in the interest of safety, would just go ahead and do it. Just go
Sure.
secure the lug nuts. I mean, you're probably gonna
Right.
want it, but what if you're third in the box?
Yeah.
Or you don't have
Well,
any teammates ahead of you. Like you're the most
yeah.
far ahead teammate. Now, obviously, if you're a Toyota, stop in a Toyota box. If you're a Chevy, stop in a Chevy box.
Yeah.
But I don't even think it would. Because again, what competitive advantage? Because here's the thing, you're gonna go to the rear of the field, right? So
Yeah.
if you don't do it just now, then they're just gonna fucking hit reverse and you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like, and go back and do it, like,
Which could be even more dangerous, honestly, if you have somebody else that's going in behind him.
right,
And
reversing up pit
the
road.
part that was impressive with that to me as well, the comms and the quickness of
Yeah,
being able to make something like that happen. You're talking about something that was initiated in less than 20 seconds. I mean, like
yeah.
far less than that. Like
Did the 19
basically,
crew know? Like, like,
yeah,
like, could they have known? Like, it had
yeah.
to have been spotter to spotter.
Oh yeah.
Some that unless they have their other chat with like all of, I mean, their back end guys. It could have been, but like they were like, what the hell are we supposed to do? All right, like they didn't even know at first, but
The faces were hilarious, but again, yeah, the quickness, the presence of mind, and the quickness on the comms to basically be like, "Hey, he's pulling in your box. Just tighten the tire and go."
right,
Because you also had to realize it wasn't tight before he goes,
right,
and then have the presence of mind to go hit the 19, go. Like
right,
that is some top tier, like just quickness, presence
right,
of mind type stuff.
right,
So,
right. I
and
mean,
and it prevents yeah, you take a penalty, but you prevent suspensions. I mean,
yeah, bro.
like I wouldn't want to ban that. I like that aspect of it. No, there was the safety concern was minimal because they were able to keep it to pit road.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
yeah,
uh, yeah, I mean, so that was its own dynamic, kind of creating like multiple like green flag stops were like impeded by cautions, right? So my favorite bit of it is, we have all this passing. We got the 12 going from back to front. We got the 5 going from the back to the front. We've got the Bowmans and the Cindrics fighting it out up front. Cindric basically like dominating a stage and racing extremely well there. Um, long run cars, short run cars, passing everywhere. And then we get to
actual green flag pit stops on a regular basis.
right. Well, I mean, I can't remember how many they had because they definitely had the first one got interrupted.
Yeah,
Um,
but they had some which like I know that sounds kind of silly, but this season we were at a point where like coming after Daytona there were points where green flag pit stops were a little fewer and further between than it felt like they should
Yeah.
have been too.
Yeah.
So
No, totally. And I think we're gonna get more green flags at Homestead. Um,
yeah,
so then we get to stage 3, and now we're in a strategy game, right? That caution comes out at about 70-ish laps, a little bit after they had gotten tires, and then it's like, okay, well, we see Bowman. Bowman had come down that pit stop before. Other guys had tires, so like, and then like Larson and Chase Elliott came down, even though they were up front. They said, "Fuck it, 70 laps," because I think last year they said Logano went 72 laps. So they came down and topped off, and the 5 and the 9 said, "We're gonna save fuel." 48 had, so there was like the people that had pit within the last 30 laps. Bowman who had pit in the, well, I can't remember when it was, but like there was the people, like there were all the people in the normal cycle at this caution. Then there was Bowman who was about 5 laps better than everybody else was. And then there was the guys that had pit on this current caution, right? But I don't even know if they took tires. Like I think Larson straight up just took fuel and said, "We're just gonna run this to the end." I can't remember if it was a very quick caution after something. But basically, it introduced this thing where guys were like, "We're gonna like Reddick and Suarez were like, okay, we're gonna split it into 2. So we're driving hard." So those guys drove hard. Then you had like Priest, Elliott, and Larson who were like, okay, well, we're gonna save fuel. So they were kind of cruising, saving fuel around the 8 to 10 range. And then I watched Bowman. Bowman seemed to be like, again, he was in the middle of the 2, right? And Bowman was just pushing like crazy, just passing so many cars. And he had worked his way up to like 4th or 5th or 4th or something. And they were like, okay, now start saving. So now he started saving. I was like, wait, because of those 5 laps, is he going to be good? Like, is Bowman going to be the first car that can make it on fuel? So you had that. And then, of course, we're trying to figure these things out, seeing how it's going to unfold. I really miss this about old racing is like, cool, different strategies. And then Reddick goes down pit lane. Denny goes down pit lane. The lead, those 2-liter pits. And I think that last caution came out. I can't remember who exactly wrecked, but yeah, that pretty much like changed everything. And now obviously everybody came and got tires, and Bowman was up front, Suarez was up front, Barry's up front, and then we had our 20-ish laps to go. But I do wish that caution hadn't come out. I think it would have been a little bit smoother, if you will, of a finish and cleaner. But that being said, what a finish, right?
yeah,
I mean, Josh Berry, who has been absurdly good this year.
absolutely.
In this,
I mean, yeah,
like to go there. I don't know if Suarez had 2 tires or just didn't have the grip. It just looked like he was getting a little loose. Walked it up the track a little bit, and sorry, let me respond to this quick message.
yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I think is interesting. You bring up Josh Berry, like it makes me want to like I was looking over the standings as we land right now, and so everybody knows we're gonna do power rankings after Homestead. We want to get the full
Right. Everybody be in there.
through that, but I was looking over the standings because I wanted to see where Barry landed after that because we're at a point in the season right now where movers and shakers on the standings are like it's large gaps, right?
Right.
You're seeing people take like 4, 5, 6, their spots are hopping and dropping like by a lot compared to where they normally would later in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that win, Josh Berry has moved up 8 spots in the standings up to 13. He's not in top 10 yet,
Right.
but he keeps running the way that he is. He's going to go.
I mean,
This brings up, and it brings up another point that I noticed that I think is very interesting to me right now. Like just looking at one of the particular stats on a different driver. It's another Ford, and it's baffling to me. Have you seen Chris Buescher's standings, like where he looks like points in his stats?
Oh, I know he's got a ton of top 5s.
So Chris Buescher right now has 3 top 10s, 1 top 5.
Okay, it was top 10.
He has not led a single lap the
Right.
entire season, and he's sitting at 9th in the point standings. It's like he hasn't won a single stage. He hasn't led a single lap.
Right.
But he's had 3 top 10s and 1 top 5, and because of that, he's sitting in 9th in the standings right now, higher than Barry.
Right. Right. I mean, points racing is we have this weird thing in the middle, right? So like points racing isn't always reflected in finishes. It used to be based on finishes, right? Like instead of pushing to get second or third, you're like, hey, we're gonna, I could push for this win, but I don't, it would mean possibly killing the race. You know what I mean? But like with stage racing, and especially when you throw in like the codas, right, where like you could just be like, hey, we're just gonna stay out and win the stage. Like Bubba won that first stage,
Yeah.
by staying out. Or if it wasn't Bubba staying out, I think Priest may have won like the first stage or something like that. Like we're just like, you're gonna stay out and get your stage points, and that's weird because like you're not racing for the win. You know full well you're about to end up 20th, but you're like, fuck it, we need the stage
Mm-hmm.
points. So, but races like this and what we saw, more mile and a half, it's going to shake out some of that like stage racing stuff,
Yeah.
in terms of that. But yeah, right now I'm not worried about anybody in the top 20 of points. I said I was a little worried about, or I said I wasn't too worried about Ty Gibbs. Now I'm starting to get a little bit worried about Ty Gibbs, and that's because the 54 is slow on speed this week in a
Yeah.
bad way. Like he was like Cody Ware
Yes.
slow. So I don't know if you saw, but they put him in some. I think they put him in some dirt car stuff this past weekend, and he made his A main like first time in a sprint car. And it tells me that JGR is just trying to keep his morale up, and
Trying to keep him from getting the yips. Yeah.
right, get the Ibs. Also, I saw this. Apparently, he's got like a rookie or a 1 year crew chief, and I just don't think that that's what you want to do. I don't think pairing, like I've seen kind of the Hendrick guys, they'll pair the crew chief that they came up with through Xfinity. I think in these cars, with how crucial these setups are and stuff like that, and also how crucial a mid-race decision is, right? You think about like how the
Yes.
four performed last year with Childers on the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just the amount of times that they've made good decisions late in races to put themselves in better spots. So I think that like that's like you need to have a veteran on the box, because to try to talk a rookie down or talk a young guy down, reset the team, or just to make a good call in the strategy, because there was a lot of like decisions in a race that can change. I mean, hell, the 45's decision to pit put them and the 11 a lap down, right?
Yeah.
That
Well,
sucked.
I mean,
Wait.
yeah. Here's what gets me. I completely agree on the crew chief decision because in a situation like this is where that becomes important. When you are in a spot like Ty Gibbs is right now, it's ironic that you brought up Cody Ware because if you look at the standings right now, Ty Gibbs is sitting 34th. If
30.
he's sitting 34th, what that means is that he is fully with back markers and non full time drivers in the standings right now. Cody Ware is the only full time driver that is lower than he is right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
well, Cole Custer is down there, but like, if if you're driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, if you are in that type of equipment
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't have some sort of like numerous like string of catastrophes,
Mm-hmm.
like, and you finished races, you really shouldn't be sitting back there right now. Like
Right.
you just can't. Like, yes, he's had a couple DNFs, but so have guys that are sitting in the top 10 right now. So have guys
Right.
that have been sitting up high. If you are racing in big four equipment,
Right.
you should not be sitting that far and you should not be that slow. I agree that there's reason to worry. And this is
Right.
one of those times where you would want to have a veteran crew chief up there
Right.
to help him out and say, hey, man, this is where we got to get here. Let's get you up here. Let's get your
Right.
confidence up. Let's put you in a spot where you can get some points. Let's get you feeling better going into next week because he feels like shit right now. He just
Right.
has to.
Right. Yeah. And for what it's worth, if the streak from last year wasn't a thing and it was only his performances right now this year, I would not be too concerned. Right.
Yeah.
And the reason why is same reason like Joey Logano has 0 top tens. We're not worried per se.
No.
And the reason why is 2 super speedways and a road course. Like those are so dynamically, and we talked about this before, like so many wrecks and so many things happen, right? That I just, I'm not losing sleep at the fact that if you don't have a bunch of top fives, top tens like that, it's great if you do, but not the end of the world because we know a brunt of the schedule is short tracks, a mile and a half. So as long as you're good on those, the points will creep themselves back up, the speed.
Yeah.
And then just finish respectably on the rest of those races instead of fighting for a top 5 at Daytona. Maybe cruise, live, let the big one happen, and then finish 7th based off of you didn't, you know, crash the car that day. So That's one way. But with Ty, the fact that streak before, and the fact that he's young, and the fact that team is led by young guys, I do
Yes.
fear that they got to get right. Whereas if these same streaks were happening to somebody else, look at Briscoe, right? I'm not really worried about Briscoe.
No.
And the reason why is even if he is slumping a little bit, they got James Small, veteran crew chief, knows what it's like. They know they've got pace. The Toyotas know that they're going to be fine. Briscoe, I mean, hell, they made a pretty solid effort at the end of that day, right? From 4 laps down to finishing 15th ish on speed, they were passing
Yes.
people at the end of that race. So,
Yes.
things went to shit with the pit stop for them. I get it, but I'm not like that's not where I'm worried. I just, the young guys have got to find a way to get out of that rut. So, um,
Yeah.
but
I'm with you on that because and I would have every reason in the world to be worried about where Ty Gibbs sits right now. He is not running to the caliber that we're used to seeing him in the short time that he has been at the cup level. And that's what it is. So I'm hoping it's just some sort of slump, right? I'm hoping that that's what it is just for as a JGR fan, that's what I'm kind of hoping for because we still we're getting more Toyotas out on the track. You still need as many as possible and you need
right,
as many friends as you can because you still don't have anywhere near the amount of Chevys and Fords and
right,
combinations that they can pull together
right,
to actually make runs.
right,
He needs, you don't have as many friendly faces when you drive a Toyota in the NASCAR Cup Series. You just don't.
right, right,
So you can't have slow guys out there.
right,
You
right.
can't be running with the back markers. You just can't do it.
But now that you mention that, I want to say something though. Eric Jones looks pretty good. Legacy Motor
Yeah.
Club looks not they look a step up from where they were last year. Last year we are talking about them being a Rick Ware team like caliber.
Yeah.
Those guys are driving good. The Spire guys, holy shit.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously I'm kind of a residential Corey LaJoy hater. Not that I don't think he has talent, but like I really felt like he was holding them back. Um, Hocevar is so fast. Hocevar is going to win a race on speed this year. I have no doubt about that. That kid
I
is
believe
got
it.
that they've got something. McDowell, the qualifying has been good, and he's got speed, but they've been good, and I think Haley's been good. Like they've all been racing good. Every Spire car is competing significantly better than anything else I've seen from them in the past. Obviously, who did they have last year? Zane Smith, Hocevar, and LaJoy. Like I feel like they've upgraded 2 of those rides, and then of course Hocevar is seeing the natural um, growth of a young guy. So that's been fantastic to watch. And then of course, yeah, like Barry, like I mean, to see the Wood brothers back in victory lane, not on a fluke, not
No.
not on no, like consistency, been driving, got himself there. I was a little bit concerned, but I think most of it is just the Stuart Haas stuff, struggling so much. Barry has been, no, and something that is like that's not even his style of track, right? We've seen him look extremely good on short tracks, extremely good on short tracks. So with that team, with that pressure off and a full season to kind of prep for some of these tracks and grow, and now Penske has a car. This is the first Penske car locked in the playoffs, right? It is because it was
Yeah.
Byron Bell, Barry. So I'm interested. What kind of speed are they get? Or is Penske going to start pushing to the 21 now? I mean, I don't know if they, what kind of equipment, if he's any different or if he's considered one of the top guys. But right now, the best Penske funded car is the 21. Obviously, the 12 is 22
Well,
are
Penske
champions.
Well, I mean, let's not count Cindric out of like the runs because I mean, for one,
Well,
Cindric was
no,
the
I just
only
mean like
actual
he's in the
Penske car.
playoffs. He's locked in. Obviously,
Yeah.
everybody else is going to get focused, but like I'm curious to see like you went. They say when you make playoffs, like that's huge for sponsorship and stuff like that. I wonder if
Yeah.
that 21 is going to be able to do some stuff. So,
Yeah, I didn't want to count it because it's been a surprise to me as well as Austin Cindric has run for that team, and
mhm.
I think like he's running as though he's going to be a Penske dark horse. Although we know Blaney and Logano are going to find their way
Right,
to the
yeah,
front some point this season, but
right,
I didn't want to leave out how fast Cindric has looked
yeah.
early in this season.
You know,
So
natural growth. I think he was struggling the last couple years, and obviously He's got a ton of talent. It doesn't even shine much because like he's a good road course driver. I think he might be the best road course driver at Penske. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, definitely. Actually, definitely.
I'll give you that. Yeah, for
So
sure.
like he's got, to be the best of the team at something and a good super speedway racer. So 2 out of the 4 styles of tracks that we have on the circuit, he's really, really good at. So I don't know if he's win a road course good in the current, because right now the current road course racing in NASCAR is as good as it's ever been in terms of talent, right?
Yes.
So, but he is absolutely like like Chris Buescher, last year, running down and passing at Watkins Glen SVG, right? That's how I see Cindric winning a race like that. Is like they nailed the setup, all the chips card, and they have the right tires at the right time in a race. That's a lot to happen. I don't know if like equal tires he could beat those guys, but
yeah,
he's good. And I a couple years ago I was ready for Cindric to basically sat back down the Xfinity. So a lot of growth. A lot of growth for him.
I'm glad that you brought that up just in general when it comes to like the road courses too, because I think the better the talent pool is on road courses for NASCAR and the Cup Series, the better it is for the sport overall as far as general appeal.
Oh yeah.
Because you'd have more road courses now than you have in a while. You have that being such a significant piece of the schedule nowadays, and it's a big deal, and it increases the appeal because as of now, as far as like major racing fandom, the crossover is important.
Right.
You want to draw in those IndyCar fans, while in the same way that IndyCar wants to draw NASCAR fans. You want those F1 fans who have gotten into recently over the last few years to like have a reason to extend NASCAR as like, hey, here's a different style of racing that you may not, be totally used to if you've only been watching F1. But hey, check us out on the road courses. This is compelling too.
Right.
And you want to pull that in. You want to get that because it can also diversify your sponsor base as well. When you can bring in these other guys, when you know that the talent pool is wide enough that they're going to have a compelling race every time that you go out and touch a Coda, every time you go to a Watkins Glen, every time that you go out and you're going to run at the Roval, or you're going to run in Mexico, or now going to Montreal. Like, it's big. It helps also pull in that global audience. It's great.
Yeah. It's NASCAR tracks are in a pretty good spot. I do think obviously it's got their problems, but the package is doing well. Right? Atlanta's really, really good. The super speedways are super speedways. Short track seems to be improving, especially if they keep going down this option tire route. I think that's the last test we have to pass right now is what does Martinsville look like in a couple weeks, right? But this week, we're heading to Homestead, one of the best tracks on the circuit.
Damn, are we at the championship already? Never mind.
I miss it, right? That being said, I do love a good early season Homestead, right? I do think that that's a track that absolutely deserves to kind of help set the stage, just like how Kansas has kind of kicked off a ton of really good races early in the year recently. I feel like going from Vegas to Homestead is a fantastic jump. And then Darlington a little bit afterwards. Like some complex tracks, some high skilled tracks. I wanted to wait till after this race to do the power rings because right now I sat down today and I said, what's my 1 through 10? And I got through 3 of them and I said, fuck. You know what I mean? And obviously the power rings come out next week. But Bob Pockris dropped his power rankings today. And guess, like, he's got Bowman in 4th. Would you put Bowman at 4th right now?
No.
Exactly. But after 3, it's like, huh. You know what I mean? Because you have to, like, finishes have to mean something, but also speed has to mean something. But, like, clear top 3. Bell Byron. Bell Byron. Larson is probably going to be considered up there, considering he's got, like 2 top 5s, was the fastest at Vegas, and only got caught up in, like, a wreck shit at Coda or whatever. So, like, you go, okay, he's only had 1 bad day and he's been quick, fast. Okay, maybe Reddick is another name. But, like, after that, it's like, you want to put, like, I wanted to put Blaney, but the finishes don't support that.
No.
I want to put Logano, but the speed's not supporting that outside of that one little bit of Phoenix.
Yeah.
I want to put, like, and then I go, well, Bowman has not had race-winning speed outside of the first bit of Vegas, but the finishes are there. I mean, he speed at Coda, got sent to the back, fought his way back up to like 8th. Speed the other day, got a lap down because of the tire vibration. He worked his way back up, finished top 10. Finished, I think, up there at, I think he wrecked at either Atlanta or Daytona. Everything else, he was up front for the race. So, like, shit, you know? So, Homestead is going to give us a little bit more of a fleshed out of, like, who's fast, who's not, right? Like, who's got the hot rod at the tracks that matter, and also some consistency. Maybe even Martinsville might be worth waiting till after Martinsville, but come on, we got to drop our power rankings here soon. So
No. We're gonna I think that we have at least enough versatility with that because we give it another you figure you wait another probably 4 or 5 weeks after that,
right,
and that's when you've hit the stretch of having touched Darlington, you've had
right,
Martinsville, you've had Bristol, you've had
right,
I want to
right,
get that grouping of short track super speedway 1-to-1.
right.
I want to see what the power ranking looks like after that. So that
So right, so we
for
do
everybody
Homestead,
watching
yeah.
and waiting in anticipation, we will get the power rankings out after Homestead, and then we're gonna do another one probably a few weeks after that. Just to
Yeah, down the line, get a little
yeah,
powering update, like how off we were, maybe
yeah,
who are we off about? All right, we come back and Chris Buescher's won 3 races in a row, and we're like, well, we were wrong for putting him at 12th. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
something ridiculous because the sport is in such a good spot. I've been watching Drive to Survive a little bit with Lehua, trying to get her more into motorsports and things like that. Obviously, I know Drive to Survive is super dramatized and shit like that. I'm aware, but I have to explain to her like, hey, he's going to a team that's just like not going to be able to compete. And
Well,
we, for what it's worth, right,
season of Full Speed is about to come out. So if you
right,
want something,
right.
yeah,
But being able to explain to her that like Spire getting a pole. Spire is considered a C tier team, B tier. Well, probably B now, but historically Spire is like a
going
C tier
into this
team.
season, I'd have laughed at you if you said B.
Right. And we should probably consider doing a tier list, not of drivers, but of the teams and stuff like that, to kind of re-identify where we kind of see everybody at. That could be fun content as well. But like, okay, a C tier team getting a pole on a track where it's not luck. It's Vegas qualifying was absurd, dude. They were completely wide open in 1 and 2. They were completely wide open in 1 and 2. So you know how and for you guys at home, the way qualifying works is like, if you go out first, you're at a disadvantage on speed. There's just like the track gets cleaned off, or things get, there's less heat on the track. I don't know what it is, but I know that if you go out first, or in the first couple groupings of qualifying, you're at a disadvantage. You're pretty much, because they send all the people. One, you're at a disadvantage because it sends all the people out there that are like lower in points or whatever. But
Yeah.
you don't want to be out there first. There's a disadvantage, right?
In the modern age of
right,
shorter practices as well, you
right,
take that into account as well. Like you're not getting as much
right,
wear on the track, where when practice used to be a little longer,
right,
and there was a little more time to tune and practice.
right,
That also meant that you were going to lay more rubber on the track.
right,
That meant that there was going to be more fluctuation, and you could see what things were
right.
going to be. So, you're at a much more higher disadvantage now when you're out there first.
And also, I don't know when this got announced, but they're only doing 1 session of qualifying too. So it was just straight through qualifying. There wasn't, okay, next the top 10 gets to the next. I don't know why or when we got away from that. I don't remember that announcement, but so now it's even worse, because if the speed's coming in later, if you were the top 10 in group 1, it doesn't matter because you would still move on, or top 5 in group 1, top 5 in group 2 type deal, right? Like that's what it was, like top 5 in each move forward.
Yeah.
Well, now, no. So the fact that McDowell went out extremely early on qualifying and still set the pole lap tells me that they got a rocket ship at Spire, and people were unable to hold it. And it was fantastic, right? So Spire doing that, I don't even know what the F1 comparison would be. That's not Williams. Maybe it is Williams, a team that's C tier, that maybe this year it's like, oh shit, with Sainz and Albon, oh, we might be a B tier team now, But like, where did those guys come from? So that's like an equivalent. If you're an F1 fan watching NASCAR now, it's like, dude, imagine a Williams guy getting a pole. Not because right now Williams is just kind of qualifying good and has speed.
Mm-hmm.
But if Williams came out at Australia and dropped the pole lap, you'd be like,
So I'm
Excuse me?
glad that you brought that up too, because it addresses two things. For one, and we've touched on this in past years before, the like qualifying and practice in general are a couple of things that I feel like NASCAR could really take advantage of in regards to stuff to broadcast, stuff to hype, like ways to build storylines,
Mm-hmm.
because that was something that they did in the past and they were able to do that well. And it's something that F1 does well and IndyCar does well, is like it's fun to watch the
Right.
open wheel practice sessions
Right.
and see how some of these drivers are actually going to run and what they're qualifying to. Like the practice builds up to the point where qualifying is exciting. Like F1 qualifying is compelling TV. It really
Right.
is, because like you really get a chance to see just how fast and technical these guys really are going to get once they get out there. So I think NASCAR should do more to try and build those up to be an event. And that's the one point.
Well, I'm gonna
Here's
give.
the other thing.
Yeah.
Go.
Go ahead. No.
I was gonna say, you watched the F1 race this weekend, right? You
Yeah.
did you stay up or did you
I,
watch the
I
replay?
watched. So
Like
we
you
had a
caught it?
show. So I had like finished the show, and then
Yeah.
I was watching the next band when it was starting, and then of course the
Mm.
everything that happened with the rookie, so it delayed. So I was able to actually catch it the first little bit at the start, a little break, and then when I finally got home, it was like lap 20 something, and I watched 20 to the end. So I got to see Alonso wreck. I got to see Piastri and both of the
Yeah.
McLarens go through the gravel and lose. I got to see the whole strategy of getting on slicks and then getting off slicks as fast as possible. I watched the
Yes.
Ferrari mayhap, so it was definitely a good race. And before we move on to the potentially talk about F1 or just in general, I don't think we're going to be able to replicate the hype of the weekend of the practice and qualifying sessions like F1, and I like the reason why we can't. Okay, this might confuse.
Okay. What do you got?
If you had to give the number one reason why qualifying is so hyped in F1, why it's such a big event, what's the answer?
Oh, you're gonna make me say it. You're gonna make me do that. It's mainly because like once the race actually happens, somebody's gonna pull away, and the rest of the race isn't gonna be as entertaining.
Because you can't fucking
Now,
pass. Because you can't, like, at the
right.
end of the day,
You can't pass. No,
at the
you're
end of the
right.
day, you can't fucking
Like
pass,
this
right?
past race, like not really withstanding. But yeah, you're right. Now to that point, there weren't a lot of like passes
Bro,
for the lead. But you're right. Yeah.
Monaco is
It's
qualifying
gone to
is
nothing,
bigger
dude.
than the race.
Yes.
Saturday
Yes,
is
you're right.
genuinely a bigger event than the race. And guess what? Having shout out to our boy Dilly, who taught me. I had the F1 rig up yesterday, and I was going through Monaco, and he was teaching me, and it was really cool. And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but like when you get in on a rig and you see how difficult that is, you know. And I have a little bit of assist on, and I'm manually shifting. All right, nobody hate on me, okay? Like it is difficult. It is difficult. And then you get into the race and it just adds on a whole new layer because now all the break points that you've been practicing are completely gone. You're getting dive bombed out of the tunnel. Like it's wild, right? But yeah, like I appreciate it. And it is absolutely a fun watch to see them fly. The precision is next level. Like I don't think NASCAR, I think only SVG has the level of precision that these guys have.
Yeah.
Right. It is stupid. And I respect the hell out of it. But the reason why qualifying is so important for F1 is because passing is minimal. I would wager there's more passing in one stage of a NASCAR race than the entirety of an F1 race.
I don't disagree with that at all. Because look at the excitement that like when you're watching the broadcast of an F1 race, when a single overtake happens, the excitement in that broadcast of a single overtake, like 5 spots back from the lead.
Bro, you could, dude,
substantial.
Like you could go from 17th to 13th and be driver of the day because you were the only guy to pass, right? And granted,
Fox could never.
And before I shit on F1, I'm not here to shit on F1. I watched a 18-year-old rookie in a Mercedes in the rain, drive from 12th to 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And his first time in an F1 car, I don't know if it's first time at that track, but unreal performance by Kimi. So, like, Kimi Antonelli, right? Like, unreal. Like, absolutely going to be something to watch. F1 is a huge product. I've really come to enjoy it. But a lot of those tracks and circuits, it's like hit or miss. Like, the rain, a great equalizer. We see a lot of passing and a lot of fluctuation with the rain. But then we see those races where, like, if you pass 3 cars, you had the greatest day of your life, you know? So I don't think we're ever going to be able to match the hype of that. And then here's
True.
another one. I blame, again, Fox, but mainly the coverage of practice. You turn on a practice session and you would see anybody who wrecked, which is great, but that doesn't tell me anything about who's fast, who's not. The leaderboard just shows whatever the fastest lap was. And that fastest lap got ran on lap 3 on brand new tires.
Yeah.
I'm getting no information. I'm getting nothing. And I'll hear Kevin Harvick, yeah, his averages, yeah, he's the fastest lap. Where's this information on the screen? And I get it. It's an hour-long practice session. So the idea that we're going to bring somebody in to make graphics off of data that we're getting in real time, I don't even need graphics, dude. Just have that information raw and readily available, dude.
Yeah.
Like NASCAR.com, just have it have it like best 10 lap average. Like again, at this point, I don't give a shit about
companion to follow.
All right, I want the story of the weekend. Who unloaded slow as shit? Like Logano was slow as shit in practice. Then P2 in qualifying. Where the fuck did that come from? Well, give me the story. And Logano did a good job explaining that they come out, they struggle in race trim, but the qualifying, is fine and or whatever. But like that's, I don't know. At this point, you're not gonna be able to hype Saturday and Sunday or Saturday up on the race if we're not getting any information. It's just like I'm just looking at a score chart of the one fastest lap, right? And I go, oh wow, Bubba's got the fastest lap of the race. Bubba and Chastain were the fastest in practice, but who was good on the long run? That way, I know who to watch in the back of the field, right? So it'll work itself out. But I do think that that is where we could improve. But yeah, F1 has been solid. Is this the start of IndyCar or?
Yeah, IndyCar is one race in, and that was one point I was going to make to you is like, I would encourage, like, because we're coming up on it later this week. Now that it's on Fox and it's a little more accessible, you don't have to have Peacock specifically to check it out. I would encourage you, check out the Indy practice as you get into the weekend.
Yeah.
And like the Indy quality, because it's going to be fun, especially at a new track like this. It's there. The storylines are going to build, and it's going to make it interesting. And for anybody that's watching this, here at home, like for between Finn and Corey, it's one of those things that I refuse and have refused to like let these guys drift off and not watch open wheel racing. Because so for like my friends already know this about me, like in general, is that I'm just a like all around, like if there is a competition of some sort in regards to like any kind of like sports, I'm gonna watch it. Like chances are, if you throw ESPN on and there's some sort of sport on, even if I haven't watched it before, I'm going to check it out. The other day, college Gaelic football was on TV. I was like, all right, I'll watch that. What the hell?
Right.
So like, but that's my nature, right? So like, that's kind of where I am. So like motorsport has been fantastic for that with me in general, because like NASCAR is always like right here. That's the number one. That's at the heart. That's, from being a kid from Virginia, like growing up, like in the Southern region, you can't just not like racing, right? Like there's a little piece of you that's like in your blood with it, right? But one of the things that like for me, I love to like open it up, and I love like open wheel racing, but I also love like, let me watch IMSA, let me watch the endurance guys, let me check out the supercars, like get into that kind of stuff. But like for anyone home, like I said, I refuse to let like the hype or anything when it comes to like open wheel die down for Corey and Finn. And I will constantly bring that up. Before we came in to do this show today, I was like, yo, Finn, you got to let me talk about Indy for a while.
Yeah, no, you're good. Well, here's the thing. I had a buddy at work come in, and he was asking me about car stuff. And I looked at him and I said, my brother in Christ, I know nothing. I know nothing. I know nothing about cars. I know nothing. I don't know. I don't know anything. I can barely change a spark plug. He goes, bro, you're in NASCAR hats like every other day. Like, what do you mean? Aren't you a car guy? And I said, and this made me think about like how I view racing. I give two shits about the mechanical development. And that's what took forever for me to get into F1 is I do not care about the mechanical advantage and building the fastest car, yada, yada, yada. I do not care. What got me into NASCAR was watching these big Car of Tomorrow shit boxes get thrown around Watkins Glen, beaten and banging and high horsepower, low downforce. The cars are not mechanically sound. So
Right.
who's the fastest in them when they suck? Who's the
Yeah.
fastest at bad cars? Not bad, slow
Yeah.
cars, bad but fast cars. And that's what got me into NASCAR. Obviously, the early 2000s of NASCAR was its prime. I think late 90s, early 2000s. So obviously, I got into it at a good
Gen
time.
4, baby.
Right, but there's still nothing better in my life than watching Carl Edwards beat Michael Schumacher,
Right.
1-on-1. Right, like we've got Wheelman, and I want to see Wheelman.
Yeah.
And I think now, as I'm learning, as with anything, once you learn a little bit more about it, you'll come around and you'll start to appreciate it. Baseball, I was like that for me. I hated baseball for the longest, and now I'm obviously really, really into baseball. I understand it more thanks to video games. And that's why we're hoping that video game for NASCAR is so good because, God, it's, you could just get to the sport. F1, I mean, I get around with Dilly, and I'm doing Monaco, and now when I watch that race, I'm going to be able to understand where the passing zones are, and I'm going to have so much appreciation, like knowing, hey, they take this right-hander, he'll be down in second, then I'll go a little left, and then boom, down the first, and it's a hairpin where you could walk faster than the cars are going on that turn. Like, okay, I appreciate, and I know exactly where we're at, and once you understand that, when I understood where they were on the track and what was coming and when they could potentially make a move, it made it more interesting. Even watching Australia, having raced Australia recently in my F1 career. Cool. So I don't know if IndyCar needs to make a game. I know they have IndyCar in iRacing, but
Yes,
that would be probably something that they could invest in to make it a good experience. But
there hasn't been an IndyCar game in 20 years, bro. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, they brought college football back after a decade. So
yeah.
So
you and I are like, it's interesting because we're like, now this doesn't mean that I'm like a mechanic by any means, right? I am I like when it comes to like work or just general nerddom because I'm a giant geek in general by nature, right? Like I like that mechanical aspect of it. I like the engineering aspect of it. Like when it comes to like computers, gaming, anything else, like I'm kind of a gearhead. Like I like the inner workings of that stuff. And that was one of the things, like I always loved super speedway racing for me in general when it came to NASCAR, because I want to see who can make the giant shitbox go fast.
Right.
Who can tune this thing down to a tenth of a second and then be able to manipulate it and gain that extra little bit live in real time on track, which is one of the biggest strategy differences between open wheel and stock car racing in general, is that everything happens in stock car on the fly, whereas everything is happening in preparation. So
right, and we've even seen with SMT data it infiltrate NASCAR, and I think it hurts it, right? Because I'm listening to practice radio sessions or just in general, and you'll hear things like you'll hear them go, "What's the 5 doing?" I was listening to Logano. I was like, "What's the 5 doing?" All right, well, he's a little bit harder on entry. Your breakpoints are the same, and that's because they're literally just overlaying maps of your SMT data and Larson's SMT data and saying, "Oh, Larson got off the brake or off the gas later." And cool. And like back in the day of NASCAR, I feel like, back in my day, like what made it so good is like the driver was the data. The driver had to communicate, what he was doing, and you had to try to figure out, was the scenario because was this scenario because you were driving into the corner not hard enough and you needed to do more? Or was it because the car truly is this, that, right? And the good drivers that could communicate extremely well and then get the most out of their car. So where there was no concerns about whether or not it's the car or the driver not pushing enough. They're pushing. The Tony Stewarts, the Jimmy Johnsons, those guys, they're getting the most out of the car. So that feedback was valuable. Whereas with a rookie, it's like, hey, rookie, you're not driving in hard enough. And you have to figure that out various ways. I remember watching Travis Pastrana talking about his first experiences in NASCAR. And one of the things he said was, I got to meet with Jimmy Johnson and kind of go through him with a bit. Nobody watches more film than Jimmy Johnson. They said Jimmy used to watch all of everybody's camera when they would have like only 4 cameras on the track at a time. They for on the cars, because now you have all the cars, but they there would only be like 4 or 5 cameras on a car at a given week, and then they said he would watch all of them and in preparation, and he would just see, all right, he knows where he would be lifting. Where's Kyle Busch lifting? Where's Kyle Busch on the break? Where's Kyle Busch's entry point on a turn? And learning all those things like that, I feel like is a bit of a lost art. One, because of no test time. Two, because of SMT data. And that's what kind of gets me is like when I see things like an F1 team can see everything from pressures to fuel, that takes it away. I don't like that I like in NASCAR where it's some dude with a spreadsheet going, I think we've got 3 laps left. We'll figure it out. You got dudes looking at the pit box to see how much gas is on the ground. Like, okay, there's this much in the tank and there's this much on the ground, which means we should yes, dude. NASCAR isn't NASCAR without redneck math being involved.
Well, right. There's
You know what I mean?
critical thinking
You
is
know?
the biggest difference in those strategies between the series, like more than anything else, is that's what it's just intriguing in different levels, and you're watching for different things.
Right.
Because like when I watch open wheel, I'm watching it for something different.
Right.
When I watch sports cars and stuff like that, I'm watching those for a different reason. Like I know that all of that is there.
Yeah.
So like I expect you to perform at a certain level. And when you don't,
Right.
or when you're not like hitting those points, it really raises those stakes of like, what the hell, man? You have every last bit of data, information,
Right.
and a finely tuned machine at your disposal, but you can't do it. Come on
Right.
now.
Right. You
Yeah.
definitely get more clarity on what's causing the issue,
Yes.
but again, again, and we're all always talking about preference. Like, there's going to be guys that love that, and it's like, okay, well, we need to get the fastest person in the car. Well, unless you're Red Bull, then you just
Yeah.
ignore Yuki and just put Liam in there.
Yeah.
But like, it's okay, and there's things to like about both. But that's where I think that NASCAR could improve a little bit, but it's never going to improve. It's like you can't unlearn a process. Like, we're going to do SMT data. So it is what it is. But we're hitting an hour.
Yeah.
Let's make our picks for Homestead. Obviously, Nick and Corey have their own to pick in. I'll let you. What are you thinking for Homestead?
So I'm trying to like find that line right now between do theory and also just like history and like, like who did well, who didn't. And I'm trying not to like lean too heavy like in one direction or another.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like I'm back and forth, and that's like what I usually try and do when I want to pick. This, like, I don't know, like right now for me, I don't feel like I'm generally wondering, like I'm stuck between a couple of different drivers. But I think that this week my pick is going to be Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. I mean, you look at just like how absurdly fast he was. Like, that was the fastest car. Like, the fastest car at the track last week were the 5 and the 12, without a doubt in my mind.
Right.
And the 5, I think, was significantly faster than the 12. Again, unreal. And then this is his house. You know what I mean? Like, this is the Kyle Larson machine. Like, we're going to see him up against the wall, absolutely flying. I'm going to go Briscoe this week. That's just hard shot. Get off of the slump. They had a little bit of speed at Vegas. I think they're going to get these woes out of the way. I think they're going to unload quick. And, yeah, I'm going to go with Briscoe. I think the 19 turns it around. Really, the Toyotas have been fast. 23XI is kind of leading the pack behind Bell. It's like Bell, 23XI, Hamlin. I don't think the 19 is that far off, right? I think he's closer to them than he is to the 54. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And when I'm talking next week during Victory Lane, they can eat it. So we'll let those guys pick theirs in our chat. But yeah, we're going to go Larson, Briscoe at the 1.5 miles.
All right. No, I can dig that pick. I mean, we're just waiting on the bounce back, right? We'll see what happens. I would have probably eased off on that just with the suspension or any of the weird stuff.
With the
but
mile
it
and
could
a half,
be the other thing. It could be the motivating factor, right?
Right. So. Yeah. With the 1.5 miles, I think we're ready to. I think he's gonna go. I think he's gonna fly.
So I got Larson, you got Briscoe, and then we'll find out what Nick and Corey have, and we'll discuss that.
I got a feeling.
Else that's watching.
I got a feeling we're gonna see one of Reddick or Byron from both of them. If I had to choose, I think those are obviously really, really good picks for this kind of track. Denny's another name that was on my mind.
Yes. Especially with the new sponsor, because that was the other thing that we haven't touched on. It's not often. How many times have we said when we do this pod, that like we're like, damn, we're always just a little bit late to the punch on like news, right? It happens, or it's early, right? Like we will record and then new stuff will happen on Wednesday, like a lot, or it's like right after on Monday stuff drops, and we don't quite get to it. Like we're late to the punch on it. But yeah, I was really excited. Denny now has a new primary sponsor for what was it, like 12 races, I think, for this year, and he's gonna be driving a blue progressive car. The scheme looks awesome.
Right.
I like it. I like to see him in that. Like, I think it's gonna look cool. It's gonna be weird not seeing him in purple, because he was able to carry that for a good while, even with Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
And I still like the Sport Clips scheme. Like, hasn't always gripped me. I get it.
Right.
It is what it is. But solid colors for the 11 just always
I
made sense
yeah
to me.
yeah
So
they look good. It looks
yeah,
really really good. And it's cool. It's cool to see like progressive get into the sport.
yeah,
Um, I
we'll
saw
get something new.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah I think there's a wizard scheme that looks a lot like Napa for the 12. So the 12 and the 9 are gonna get really confused this week. So
yeah,
yeah, paint schemes have been solid. Last thing I'll say is the Dasani car by Buescher looked fantastic. Like the color, the
yeah.
Dasani. It was a very interesting sponsor. I haven't seen like Dasani water. I know like Nestle has got their controversies, but um,
Mm-hmm.
but I just that's a. I've always been surprised. Like, when was the last time we've ever seen a Gatorade car? Like, how has Gatorade not made its way onto a car? Like, the Gatorade colorways would
Yeah,
be unreal. The freaking lightning bolt or the G on the hood, like,
yeah.
oh, it would be unreal. And there's a ton in iRacing that are really really cool.
Yeah, well,
So
and we've seen. I mean, paint schemes. We can go on forever. We could do a saga of episodes about different paint schemes
yeah.
because I would have wanted like the upper deck schemes that they were doing for 2311
Oh yeah,
are
dude.
amazing, and the
Can we get
possibility.
some rookie
Dude,
Jordan car that like a
yes,
rookie? Yeah, a rookie MJ, dude. Give me like a Wizards MJ. Let's get weird with it.
yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, dude, how cool would it be? Like they run out and they put like the 23 rookie MJ car out, and then they
Right.
put the Jordan return on the 45,
Oh yeah.
and they actually stick the card on the hood,
That
and
would
then
be
like there's so many
ridiculous.
different
Yeah, dude.
possibilities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude. Yeah.
baseball players, like yeah, you
Yeah.
could do so much cool stuff with
Yeah.
that. So,
That'd be unreal. Chicago street race, like let's see a White Sox one from the
dude,
yeah, MJ baseball days.
yeah,
So
there's so many different ways that you could do that, but like I said, we could spend
another hour.
hours talking about that particular stuff, and we do offline. So everybody knows, like when we're out of here, we end up talking about that stuff anyway, just for fun. But yeah, we're rounding out a little over an hour. I think that's going to be time to wrap things up for us.
Yep.
Please make sure you check us out and subscribe on YouTube. Look for us on Spotify. We're under the name Intentional Rec. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, follow us on the socials. We are on TikTok. We are on Twitter at IntWreckPod. That's at INTWRECKPOD. Almost ran out of breath on that. Find us, follow us, like, share, subscribe, do all that, and let's go racing.
See ya.
Later, y'all.